Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Loveless here. I'm gonna talk to you today about nightshade vegetables. This has been a question that I get a lot. I did a video on the top 5 foods to get rid of psoriasis, and I got a lot of flack because I didn't talk about nightshades. And the truth of the matter is there's so much you can talk about when we go through these things. In that video, I decided the 5 things that I thought were gonna be the most important for people without overwhelming it. But absolutely, high lectin count foods are gonna be harder to digest. So this video is gonna kind of walk you through that, but more importantly, how important is it to stay away from nightshades? That's really what I'm going to answer today. All right, let's talk about nightshades. Dr. Gundry, awesome cardiologist, wrote a book called The Plant Paradox Diet, and I've given this diet to multiple patients with success. I think it's an awesome eating plan and a lot of good benefits on there, and so I'm a big fan of it. It's not the only thing I recommend because there's so many different eating plans and diets out there. I try to make it individualized, and that always comes the problem, or the hard part, I would say, about shooting videos is because you're not talking to an individual, you're talking to the group. And so the group, there's specific things that the group can make change that will really transform their life. And yes, this is one of those things. I do believe that just following something like the Plant Paradox Diet can be very effective. But I want to talk to you about why that isn't the first thing I recommend to all people. Because of this, the first thing I recommend, although if you follow that diet, again, that's a good diet, and a lot of things I teach are in that diet, but specifically why I don't go straight to the nightshades portion of that eating plan versus the staying away from gluten, staying away from soy, staying away from corn, staying away from things that I know that our body is just really hard to digest, but also that is very inflammatory to our system. And so when I pick and say, okay, these are the 5 things I would recommend for something like psoriasis, it's because these are the 5 things that I know is going to create inflammation in everybody. I know that people can eat foods that have lectin in them and be healthy if their body is good enough and strong enough to break those foods down. But when it comes to gluten, nobody eats gluten and is healthy, right? It's the truth. It's such a stressor on your body. Or if it comes to something like corn. Corn is just such a very low nutrient food that really just turns to sugar. And if you're eating it all the time, not only is it hard to digest, it's very hard on your overall insulin levels and insulin sensitivity. And then the other stuff like soy, and soy is such a genetically modified plant, so I stay away from those things. Or I don't even remember what else I talked. Oh, sugar, reducing alcohol. These are things that clearly I think are a starting point for people, and there's only so much you can do. You start to take those out and you follow Plant Paradox Diet, things might get a little bit hard. So what I want to talk about nightshades, I am a big fan of taking nightshades out. I actually personally don't eat many of them in my diet. I believe the only one I would have is broccoli, but it's a low lectin count, which I believe is a nightshade, but has a low lectin count. But really a good eating plan. So let's clarify. It doesn't matter what you call the diet. It doesn't matter if you focus on low oxalate foods, if you focus on nightshade vegetables. It doesn't matter if you focus on the Plant Paradox Diet or the paleo diet or there's certain things that we just need to focus on first, and that is eating real food, right? Most people that are complaining about lectin or nightshades are also eating Cheetos, right? Or also eating, boxed foods with vegetable oil or some sort of sesame seed oil or sunflower oil, or things that are going to be very inflammatory to their body. So let's look at this and say, okay, what should we eat? Take all the junk, take all the words out and all the names of things out, the nightshades, take it out and say, okay, what should we eat? Here's what I'm going to recommend eating. I'm going to recommend eating real food, raised the way food was supposed to be raised and grown the way food was supposed to be grown. So grass-fed, free-range, organic animals that are raised the way they're supposed to be, so that you have a good fat content, so you have good nutrient value, that you're not getting toxins from the chemicals that they eat. Now, again, I know this too, that everything's going to have toxins, everything's going to have chemicals. It is impossible, I agree, but you focus on what you can control, which is go as clean as you can. So you get these animals that are raised the way they're supposed to be raised, and then you move on and you say, okay, now I'm going to look at the vegetables. Vegetables grown close to your home, vegetables grown at a farm, you know where they're grown, or you grow them yourself. Eating this way could be more expensive, but it also can be less expensive if you do it right. So you don't have to go into the grocery store and get all the organic food. You go to the local farm and you get your organic vegetables. You go to the local farm and you get your free-range organic meats, and that is a diet. So you eat your healthy meats. In terms of what vegetables do I use as staples and do I usually recommend as staples, I'm a big fan of your cruciferous, big bang for your buck, things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, broccoli sprouts, green leafy vegetables, things that are gonna have a high DIM count, which helps our liver process estrogen, helps our liver detoxify. These are some of the foods that are amazing for men and amazing for women who wanna prevent things like cervical cancer and breast cancer, because they help the pathways of the liver properly. So those cruciferous vegetables are the ones I zero in on. Are there other ones? Absolutely. Things like carrots, onions, garlic, tons of medicinal benefits to them and tons of health to them as well. So again, it's not necessarily that I would say that staying away from nightshades is the most important. I definitely wouldn't make them a staple in our diet. And even with vegetables, I'm a huge fan of not eating raw vegetables. And so if you're someone that eats raw vegetables, many times you'll notice after that salad that you actually feel a little tired. You actually feel a little bloated afterwards. And it's because it's hard to break down, one, and a lot of us have bacterial gut issues, which creates methane and more feeding of that bacteria. So I like to break my food down a little bit before I eat it. So steaming your vegetables actually increases the bioavailability of those nutrients. So when you steam broccoli and it gets that bright green color to it, its nutrient value actually for you goes up. Whereas, obviously you overcook it and it's brown, that's not good. But whereas if you eat it raw, it's really hard to digest, and a lot of times our stomach acid isn't even ready for it. Most people's stomach acid isn't even in a good position to break that food down, or digestive enzyme production, or whatever that is. So steam your vegetables, puree your vegetables, do things that can make it easier to eat. Don't douse it in a bunch of oils. Olive oil is decent on vegetables. And I think Dr. Gundry actually talks about olive oil a lot, how beneficial it is with vegetables because it helps pull out a lot of those nutrients. And I can agree with that. But again, I'm not a big fan of raw. I like to steam those vegetables. So to kind of dispel the whole thing of nightshades, yes, nightshades are something that are hard to break down. And yes, someone with psoriasis, that's a good idea to remove those as well. But again, there's only so much you can say in a video. So I think nightshades are, there's health benefits to all vegetables, but things that are high in oxalates, things that are high in lectin, are actually many times even gonna pull minerals from our body. Things like copper and things like that, and zinc and things like that will pull nutrients out of our body. And so I'm actually a bigger fan of more of a healthy meal with a lower vegetable content, eating my vegetables after the meat. And that seems to be beneficial for me, and that's what I found most effective for patients with psoriasis and just other skin issues in general, but also prevention of heart disease. Go and watch the video I just did on veganism and why I believe that just eating vegetables is a very bad idea for people long term. Might be a good short, 2-week, 3-week plan, but not something you want to do long term because of the huge benefits that come from eating meat. So again, a big fan of staying away from nightshades. If you're gonna eat them, I mean, let's be real, peppers and things like that, these got a lot of nutrient value to them. Just break them down a little bit, steam them or puree them or do something like that so you can your body's easier to break them down. People love tomatoes. I don't personally like tomatoes, but steam your tomatoes, break that down a little bit, and don't eat the skin on the tomato to help your body be able to digest it better. Okay, because there is a lot of huge nutrients, and good amount of nutritionists will tell you lycopene, all these good things in tomatoes that are actually very beneficial for our health. So it's all kind of, I don't like it's all kind of balanced, but being able to evaluate what's gonna do best for you and how well your body's breaking foods down. And at the end of the day, it isn't all about nutrition. I know that's a hard pill to swallow for most people, no pun intended, but it isn't all about nutrition. It's also about the overall stress in your life. People can drink, they can smoke, they can do everything wrong and live to 100, right? And then live seemingly healthy to 100, meaning they don't have a lot of health problems. Well, how does that work? And this is the part where I want you all to become your own health expert by having a philosophy that the body was made to heal itself. It doesn't need help healing. All nutrition really is reducing stress on your body and giving you the nutrients and minerals you need when you do it right. If you have a poor nutrition diet, then you're gonna increase stress on your body. You're gonna make it more hard on your body. Can your body handle it? Possibly. Some people do, some people can't. But it's not all about nutrition. It's also about what other stressors do you have in your life? What are the emotional stress? Are you sitting all day long? Are you getting outside and moving and breathing fresh air? Are you walking barefoot on the ground? Are you surrounded by 5G all day long? Right? There's just so many other things than just nutrition, but this is a good starting point in terms of diet. Good healthy meats, good healthy vegetables, all raised the way they were supposed to, and keep it simple. Steam your vegetables, and I think you're gonna be really good. And that's a good starting point for nutrition. Then you take it from there. You find someone to help you in that process, and you go from there. So I hope that video was helpful, guys. Make sure you like this and share it, and subscribe to our channel. And thank you for helping us to grow this channel to help and serve more people and really make a difference on this world. And we want to help you to continue to become your own health expert.